Hey y'all, thank you for joining me. Let's take a quick look at where we're at. We're at 1190 and had a pretty good week in the last 5, 6, 7 days. I'd like to discuss for a few minutes about the possibility of a recession. And some of you might be wondering, are we close to a recession? Is a recession coming? And what am I supposed to do in that case if we find ourselves in a recession? Well, usually when you find yourself in a recession and you try and do something, it's usually too late. And there's different ways. One of the ways of preparing yourself if you feel a recession is close by. My particular opinion is I think probably in the next couple of years we're going to see a recession. And I only say that because every month that clicks off, we are closer to a recession. And I know some of you might think, well, that's, obvious. But we've had a pretty good run here. And the stock market and the economy, as a general rule, has been growing at a more accelerated pace over the last few quarters. But it's been growing for pretty much 10 years, folks. And when you have that kind of growth over a long period of time, and you have a lot of baby boomers heading into retirement every day, spending begins to be cut back. And when those dynamics kind of work together, it almost makes no sense to believe that this is going to go on forever. And to take that kind of attitude, I think, is kind of stupid, to say the least. So let's just say, because the growth has been so long and the growth has been accelerated over the last few quarters, that we are headed for a pretty prolonged and deep recession sometime in the not too distant future. And I think that's reasonable to assume. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing. Over the next 20 years, I think we'll see good growth, but maybe we'll see a year or two of not so great growth coming up over the next year to 5 years down the road, let's say. So what are you supposed to do? Well, there's different ways of approaching it. Some people think that cash is king during recessions, and that you should just fold out of the stock market and hold on to cash until the recession's in the farthest, deepest part that it can possibly go, and then begin to re-enter the market. What I do is I put a little bit of my investment portfolio into silver. And I don't do just straight silver. I do have some physical silver on hand, and I hold on to that. That's just a long-term proposition that I feel like I need to have, just in case everything just really totally blows up. But in these markets and on Robinhood, you can buy silver through something called SLV. It's an ETF that invests you in silver and in the silver market. You can also do this with gold. There's ways of looking at that you can research. But what I do is I buy something called SLVO, and that's Credit Suisse, which basically buys SLV and holds it. And they sell something called covered call options on their holdings of SLV. And every time they sell a covered call, it brings them income. And they take that income and pay it back to SLVO shareholders in dividends. And it's a monthly dividend that's paid out, and it can vary quite widely per month. If the market takes off like a rocket in silver, you're not going to get very much, if anything, in your monthly, because they're going to end up losing money on those covered calls. But if the market stays relatively steady or goes down a little bit, you're going to collect a reasonable amount of money. basically what that's going to do is that's going to give you a little bit of a hedge. As the market begins to tank, these shares will begin to ride up slightly to offset that. As a general rule, there's nothing that's guaranteed, but as a general rule in past recessions, you'll find that the silver and gold market does fairly well over those periods of time. So I'm telling you, that's what I do. Okay, so now while the market's going up and trending in a good direction, my SLVO is not doing very well, even though I'm still making some income on it every month. And that just basically rounds out what I do in preparation for a recession. Right now, I've probably got about 10 to 12% of my portfolio in these shares. And I will probably begin to pick up a little bit more over the course of the next 6 months. And I'll let you know from time to time when I make purchases. Well, this is a purchase week. I said every 2 weeks I'll be making purchases in the market. I'll be making a certain percentage of my income as a payment to Robinhood, and then purchase some dividend paying stocks with that, or maybe some of this SLVO. So I'll get my check tomorrow, and I'll probably make my purchase on Friday. And I'll make a video and show you what I've bought and show you what my holdings are and how they're each one doing. In the meantime, y'all have a great day, and think recession. Don't think recession from a depressing